You're exhausted. You might not even know exactly why, but it's there, that constant weight pressing on you. It feels like it's your job to keep everything together, like you're responsible for making sure everyone's happy. Keep the peace, be kind, stay polite. Always be the understanding one. You were probably taught early on that being a good person was the right thing, that good people win in the end, that if you're kind, others will treat you the same, that if you're fair, honest, and humble, the world will see and appreciate you. But what if that's not true? What if that idea was just a comfortable lie, designed to make you behave, keep you predictable and easy to manage? How many times have you stayed quiet just to avoid conflict? How often have you ignored your own needs just so you wouldn't let anyone down? How many times have you let someone walk all over you, smiled through it, said, "It's fine," while swallowing your frustration, your pride, your tears, in the name of being virtuous, only to be overlooked in the end? Here's the hard truth. The world doesn't reward kindness, it rewards strategy. If you've made it this far, chances are you already know what it feels like to be the nice one and end up feeling used, unseen, and frustrated. The more you try to be accepted, the more you're taken for granted. The more you compromise, the more people expect from you. The more you give, the less people value it. That's where Machiavelli comes in. He wasn't the monster people make him out to be. He was one of the first to speak openly about how power really works. He understood something that many of us are too scared to admit, that morality, when disconnected from reality, becomes a trap. Just being good doesn't mean you're effective or respected. In this video, we're stripping off the filters and the feel-good stories. We're going to talk about why you need to stop chasing the label of good person. And no, that doesn't mean turning into a jerk. It means waking up from the fairy tale where the world is just and everyone gets what they deserve just for being nice. We're about to face the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is. As long as you're trying to make everyone happy, you're letting them control you. If you're tired of being ignored, mistreated, or tossed aside, then maybe it's time to change your approach. Time to learn what no one ever taught you: how to take control of your life. Let's get into it. Still believe the world respects the good guys? Look around. Who do people look up to? Who's in charge? Who gets listened to? Is it the most generous, the most empathetic, the most just? Or is it the people who are confident, assertive, and hard to push around? The truth is rough. The world doesn't revolve around kindness. It revolves around usefulness. Machiavelli saw that a long time ago. He didn't write The Prince to teach people to be evil. He wrote it to explain how power actually works. One of his most uncomfortable lessons. Being kind isn't enough. In fact, it can be the fastest way to be forgotten. You can spend your life being loyal, helpful, understanding. You can give your all without expecting anything back. But the second you're no longer useful, people will move on without a second thought. No guilt, no hesitation. Because your moral compass isn't how they measure your worth. It's what you bring to the table. Notice how the nice people are always chasing approval, always explaining themselves, always trying to prove they belong, while the ones who set boundaries, who say no, who show up strong, they're the ones who get respect. Why? Because kindness without backbone gets mistaken for weakness. People who never push back don't scare anyone. And if you're not a threat, you're not taken seriously. You're seen as a tool, not a person, a resource, not a presence. You can burn yourself out trying to keep everyone happy. But if you don't stand for anything, if you don't show strength, people will use you without a second thought. That's the cold reality. Machiavelli said, If a leader has to choose between being loved or feared, they should choose fear. What he meant wasn't about being cruel. It was about respect. Real respect comes when people know you won't just roll over, that you matter, that you're not just some replaceable part in someone else's plan. This applies to you. If you keep living just to please others, you'll keep being seen as someone they can easily toss aside. Not because you're a bad person, but because the world doesn't reward people who disappear into the background. Now it's time to look deeper. Where does this constant need for approval even come from? Because behind that smile, behind all that kindness, there's often something else. Something that's been holding you back for years. And that's exactly what we'll explore next. We'll dig into the psychology of why some people are so desperate to please, and how, in many cases, being the nice one is just another form of fear hiding in plain sight. If this message resonates with you, hit that subscribe button and support the channel. Thanks for being here. Just remember, you weren't born needing to make everyone happy. That was taught to you, and worse, it was trained into you. Ever since you were little, you were taught that being accepted came with strings attached. You had to give up pieces of who you really were. You learned to fake smiles, keep your thoughts to yourself, bury your wants, all so others would approve of you. You heard things like, "Don't act like that, it's rude," or "Be nice," or "Don't talk back, you're so polite," and gradually, you shaped yourself into who everyone else wanted you to be. But no one warned you that constantly trying to please people is a trap, a mental cage built from sweet-sounding praise and discipline masked as guidance. You picked up the idea that love was earned by being agreeable, that if you got angry, said no, or put yourself first, people would turn away. So, naturally, you adjusted. Your mind did what it had to in order to survive. But over time, that survival tactic became a pattern of submission. Now saying no feels like a crime. You feel like it's your duty to keep everyone happy, even if it's eating you up inside. You bottle up your frustration. You forgive too easily. You push yourself to keep up an image others expect from you, not because it's who you truly are, but because it's what you were taught would keep you safe. But here's the truth. This isn't kindness. It's fear. Fear of being disliked. Fear of being unloved. Fear of being seen as selfish or bad. Fear of showing up as your real self, with boundaries, with opinions, with emotions. And that fear has turned into self-sabotage. You hide behind behavior that looks good on the outside, but quietly chips away at your soul. What's worse, you don't even realize you're doing it. You call it empathy, but it's really avoiding confrontation. You call it compassion, but it's really fear of being abandoned. You call it kindness, but it's actually a deep fear that you're not enough. Your so-called kindness is a mask, an unconscious defense against rejection. But that mask comes with a heavy cost. It slowly suffocates your authenticity, your strength, your self-respect. And if you don't take it off, it'll fuse with your identity. One day, you'll look in the mirror and wonder who you even are anymore. But there's a way back. And to find that path, we can learn from someone who truly understood the power of perception, image, and smart strategy, Machiavelli. In the next part, we'll cut through the fluff and dive into what the prince can teach us about breaking free from the need to always look good. And finally, earning real respect by being real. If you're living your life hoping that people will notice your morals, your good intentions, your honesty, stop. Machiavelli warned us over 5 centuries ago that this mindset, while noble, is dangerous. In real life, it's not the good who win, it's the effective, And to be effective in life, you need a plan. You need to understand that people usually don't act based on your decency. They act based on their own interests, their fears, and their power dynamics. In The Prince, Machiavelli said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few know who you really are." That line hits hard because it exposes a brutal truth. Being genuine and well-meaning isn't enough to gain respect. People don't respond to your heart. They respond to how you present yourself, the image you put out, the impact you make. You could be the kindest soul on earth, but if you come across as weak, that's how you'll be treated. You could have a heart of gold, but if you don't command respect, people will overlook you. That's why The Prince, and here, the prince is you. Anyone who wants to steer their own life can't afford to be naive. He needs to look noble when it serves him, but be sharp and calculated when it matters. Machiavelli said a leader should know how to use the traits of animals. Be a fox to spot traps, and a lion to scare off predators. It's a powerful metaphor. The fox is clever, aware of hidden threats, and moves with caution. The lion shows force, confidence, and presence. Machiavelli didn't say to pick one. He said to master both. Be smart enough to sense manipulation and strong enough to make people think twice before messing with you. If you want to be respected, you have to understand this. The virtue Machiavelli talks about isn't the kind preached by idealists. It's virtue, a blend of courage, brains, guts, and self-discipline. It's knowing how to act cool-headed when the moment calls for it. Sometimes looking harsh is the only way to protect order. Not because you're mean, but because you're wise. Another quote of his hits home. A man who tries to always be good is bound to fall among those who are not. And deep down, you know this. You've tried to be that person, always good, always forgiving. And what did it get you? Pain, silence, injustice. The truth is, most people don't play fair, and if you keep pretending they do, you'll keep losing. This doesn't mean you should throw away your values. It means you stop letting them chain you down. It means using them with strength, not weakness. You start paying attention to how your goodness is being seen and possibly taken advantage of by others. Machiavelli wasn't heartless. He was realistic. He saw people without rose-colored glasses and wrote The Prince as a survival guide in a world where appearance means power, and weakness, no matter how moral, is a fast track to being dismissed. Maybe now you're wondering, how do I find balance in all this? How do I stop being naive without turning into someone cold or heartless? In the next part, we're going to break down the false idea that you have only two options, be nice or be mean. There's a third path, and it starts by being honest with yourself. There's a dangerous belief that ruins a lot of people's lives. The belief that being good means being submissive. That if you're a truly kind person, you should stay quiet. Forgive everything without question, and constantly ignore what bothers you just to keep the peace. But that's not kindness. That's naivety. It's fear, dressed up as virtue. And if you can't see that, you'll keep letting the world walk all over you. Real kindness doesn't mean erasing yourself. It means being aware, thoughtful, and intentional. Being a good person doesn't mean you have to be the overly cheerful pushover who's always available, always sacrificing, especially for people who wouldn't do the same for you. That's not goodness. That's self-abandonment. That's emotional dependence hiding behind the mask of morality. Naivety is thinking that everyone will treat you the way you treat them. It's believing the world is fair and that your integrity will be noticed and appreciated. Naivety expects gratitude, fairness, and mutual respect. and lives in constant frustration and disappointment because it keeps projecting idealism onto people who don't deserve it. True kindness is different. It's steady. It knows when to say no. It knows when to leave. It understands that not everyone deserves your best. And giving your best to people who give nothing back isn't generosity, it's waste. You can be fair, compassionate, and honest, and still be respected. Still be someone who commands presence, who has clear lines, and doesn't tolerate disrespect. Machiavelli, for all the criticism he gets, didn't hate virtue. What he couldn't stand was naivety. He knew that in a world full of predators, kindness without strength is just an easy target. So ask yourself, does your kindness protect you? Or does it leave you wide open? Does it make you stronger? Or is it tearing you down? If your version of being good means constantly swallowing mistreatment, settling for crumbs, and feeling guilty for being upset, then you're not being good. You're being controlled. And yes, there's a better way. You don't have to lose yourself or kneel to be at peace. There's a way to move through life with bravery, clarity, and emotional maturity. A lot of people, once they realize how much they've been taken advantage of, go to the other extreme. They think the only way out is to be cold, detached, even a little ruthless. That's what we call the rebound effect. After years of being used, they swing to the opposite side, thinking that being harsh is the only way to protect themselves. But that's another trap. Because when you reject your own nature to avoid being hurt, you're not becoming stronger. You're just hiding behind a new mask. And that's not empowerment. That's trauma, dressed up as strength. True freedom comes when you accept your full self, when you stop living to please others and start living for your own truth. It's not about choosing between good and bad. It's about being real, being the kind of person who can be kind without being a pushover, who can care without being taken for granted, who can offer help without begging for approval. So how do you stop being too nice without losing yourself? First, realize your voice matters. You've been trained to think that speaking up, setting boundaries, or disagreeing makes you selfish. That's a lie. What's selfish is expecting you to stay quiet while others take up all the space. Speaking your truth, saying, "I don't accept this," that's self-respect. Second, start saying no. Saying no is one of the most freeing things you can do. And you don't need to be loud about it. You don't need to yell. A simple, firm, calm no can be more powerful than 1,000 explanations. It tells the world that you have limits, and people with limits get respected. People without them get used. Third, notice who gets uncomfortable when you start changing. Those reactions are revealing. When you begin to stand up for yourself, the people who benefited from your silence may call you selfish, different, or difficult. That's because your submission served them, and now it doesn't. Don't let that shake you. That discomfort means you're growing. Fourth, let go of the need to be understood by everyone. Not everyone will get your transformation. And that's okay. You don't owe anyone the version of you they imagined. Your loyalty belongs to your truth, your peace of mind, and your emotional well-being. Fifth, swap your need for acceptance with a commitment to being real. Choosing to be authentic over liked is the beginning of true freedom. Because at the end of the day, the people who matter will respect the real you, and the ones who don't, you'll finally stop living for them. When you start showing up as your true self, not everyone's going to like it. And that's okay, because the people who matter will respect you for it. Even more importantly, you'll begin to truly respect yourself. And that kind of self-respect, nobody can take it from you. Machiavelli didn't write his ideas to turn you into a heartless person. He wrote to wake you up, to get you to stop being naive. The biggest lie we're told is that being nice is enough to earn respect. But it's not. It takes real guts to stop being the people pleaser. It takes strength to show up as you are without waiting for permission or approval. But this isn't the end of the road. It's actually the turning point. This is the moment when you choose. Are you going to keep holding yourself back? Or are you finally going to take control of your life? We're heading into the final stretch now, and it's time for some real talk. If you've been clinging to this idea of always being good, always being liked, I'm here to tell you, it might be costing you everything. So, here's the question. Do you want to be loved, or do you want to be free? It's time to stop sugarcoating things. How much longer are you going to keep pretending? Keep draining yourself, silencing yourself, shrinking yourself just to keep up an image that isn't even yours, but one other people expect from you. You think that's virtue? That it's noble? No, it's a trap. A quiet, polite prison lined with fake compliments. You're celebrated for being easy, for not making waves, for not being a challenge. But let me tell you something most people won't. No one's coming to save you from that. No one's going to show up and say, "Thanks for everything you gave up. Here's the respect you deserve." That day isn't coming, because as long as you're okay with being used, someone out there will gladly use you. That's not cruelty. That's just the way things work. And good intentions won't change that. Sure, you can keep being the nice one, calm, patient, always saying yes, always putting others first. But be prepared for a life of bitterness, disappointment, and feeling invisible. Or you can wake up. You can decide that your kindness is no longer going to be a leash around your neck. You can choose to show up with intention, with strength, with clarity. You can choose who gets your generosity and when. You can stop giving to those who take and never give back. You can stop living like you need everyone's approval to breathe. Because here's the truth. The world respects people who respect themselves. And real freedom only comes when you stop asking permission to take up space. So, let me ask you this. When was the last time you said no and didn't feel guilty? When was the last time you chose yourself first? When was the last time you did something just for you, without worrying what people would think? Drop it in the comments. I want to know the moment you realized that being the nice one was slowly tearing you apart. Someone out there needs to hear your story. You might be the spark that wakes them up. And if this message hit you in the gut, if it made you question how you've been living, then you need to watch the next video. Trust me, it matters. This isn't the end. It's just the beginning.